Welcome back, everyone, to the Word Traction podcast. This is DJT's Tariffs, and Donald J. Trump saying in his best Tony Soprano voice that if you're one of the companies that doesn't litigate and doesn't make a claim for the tariff refund you are due, that'll make me happy. That will prove that you're my friend. So this is, behavior that if you had to paint out a scenario in which Donald Trump, without flat out refusing to refund the money that was mandated by the Supreme Court, which got Trump's panties in a minor bunch, this is exactly what you would think, because these companies, many of them, have business before the United States more broadly. And if they have a petulant king spilling the piss buckets over the turrets in the castle, then they will be harmed at a later date. They have to make a financial calculation, make an economic decision. Is it worse to stand up like they should as CEOs for our shareholders and make a principled stand against Donald Trump? Or is it better to let it go? And if we do let it go, in the next quarterly meeting, there are going to be, the pitchforks will be coming out in full force, and shareholders groups are going to demand the head of the CEO, perhaps, unless they're all aligned with the corrupt Trump administration. So Trump quite publicly has said on CNBC and other in Fox, of course, and many other networks, that when he was asked about this particular thing, he just what I suggested earlier, said, if they make that decision, I'm not putting any pressure on them. But if they decide to let it go, then I'm going to be happy. He didn't. You don't have to be a mind reader. Although the idea of being a mind reader when it comes to a rapidly declining 80-plus-year-old asset of Russian state security and trying to get inside that mess that he's carrying around on top of his shoulders, that is an ugly thought. There are memories of Little St. James Island. There are all sorts of things that you wouldn't want to soil your worst enemy, unless his name was J.D. Vance or Elon Musk. Elon, of course, has been distinguishing himself this week in an interview that he granted to The Economist. He has been doubling down on some of the most repugnant statements, and I'm judging by Elon Musk standards, a man that has tweeted or said in public fora some of the most reprehensible things by any business leader, but he's a trillionaire. He's a homeboy of Donald J. Trump. So he probably feels he has a great deal more latitude to say really vile things. And he did not disappoint. Essentially, he suggested that various populations are populated by or have a greater degree of rapists and murderers as a cohort in their general population. Many things that Trump said on the campaign trail about Mexicans, and if you take that and you do a times 10, that's basically what Elon was opining about, and that the idea that any children in Africa died because of his decision to whack USAID is preposterous. And just the fact that it happened as it did, it, in and of itself is disgusting, reprehensible, and almost not human. Which, all sort of descriptors that are appropriate for Elon Musk. We've known that for a long time. But he's given a pass because he is this great genius, and I'm not disputing that. But as I've been tweeting about, when the short interest in SpaceX is over 30%, and the share price is around a little bit less than half of what the IPO price was, there, that's traders being traders, short traders in the market. That is, major institutions shifting money around. But still, you could say that it's also a reflection on the public's sentiment about Elon Musk, which is just, it's horrible in the United States as a pure percentage. In Europe, it is it is immeasurably worse because of the damage that his product, his X, formerly Twitter, the making X develop realistic looking porn bots for children to see on the platform is deeply disturbing. And the beauty of the EU is that they're firing back, and they're fining him and bringing him to court and making him answer for his crimes. Now, at the same time, in the U.S., that won't happen because Donald Trump will essentially pardon all of his bad behavior, and at the same time, Trump and Marco Rubio assail the independent European nations and the EU overall for holding Musk and Zuckerberg and others to account for their bad acts. So that's ongoing. I did a podcast earlier this week on Elon more generally. So if you need more Elon content in your life, I feel bad for you. But of course, I'm creating content, so I would love your comments and thumbs up, thumbs down, uh, creative pointers, anything that you have in the comments of any of these daily video podcasts would be most helpful. And I don't I don't cry easily. I'm not a fragile kind of dude. So give it to me if you have some like, hey, here, I'll just make one up. Who the fuck made you king? In as much as you decide that you can podcast outside all the time because it's distracting to see birds flying by, and I hate the color blue. Right? That's You are within your rights to bring out any criticism of my particular work, and I welcome that. You know, and I won't even minimize your right to make silly ass critiques of my work. I welcome all of that. So, and seriously, if you have a helpful suggestion, you have an idea for a subject area you believe needs more attention, if you feel, I mean, many people feel that what I do is too long and that I speak too slowly. And some of those things are sort of programmatic, meaning, I'm older than your dad, so that shit's going to happen. But any other constructive criticism is welcome. So thank you for that. Yeah. So the amount, there are hundreds of billions of dollars of tariffs that have yet to be refunded. Some of those, you think about it. You think about the obsequious leaders of tech, the tech bros that laid bare ass naked on the White House lawn for Trump during his inauguration and are open to him abusing them in ways that are mental, physical, and otherwise. Mental, physical, sexual, or otherwise. They are there for him. They are bootlickers, and they will do the dirty work that you ask them to, because they have a fealty to Trump, and they're saying that our dignity matters not. We're about shareholder value, which is that's the excuse line for not standing up. But also, they are most of these tech bros own a really big piece of their own companies, like Musk and Zuckerberg, uh, uh, DJ Jazzy Jeffrey Bezos, that is just sucking up to Trump left and right, while his beautiful ex-wife, Mackenzie Scott, all she does is give billions to the HB historical black universities in the United States. Big checks, giant checks, you know, where the Trump administration, on one hand, is hamstringing such organizations. Anything they label as DEI is fair game for them. And here's Mackenzie Scott, just as classy, delightful as she can be, just cutting checks. A little DEI callback to the Friday episode that didn't happen. I saw this morning that the military announced the appointment to a black man. I can't recall right now whether an admiral or a general, to a senior military leadership position, because they've been taking so much flack for firing all of the senior professionals that are black, brown, or female, that they're going to put one, excuse me, what I mean to say. Perhaps this is a trend, right? But we're dealing with Donald Trump and Stephen Miller and others, and Pastor Pete Hegseth. So, color me skeptical that they're making a U-turn and otherwise made a decision to start behaving like human beings. I'm going to take a wait and see attitude on that. Congratulations to the leader, who may in fact be the head of the army or something like that. I apologize. I didn't capture the whole thing, except the irony. We're heading towards elections, so there's going to be a lot of sleight of hands, rabbits being pulled out of hats in Colitos and other tight places as we get towards the vote. And Trump's going to say, well, no, that Iran war was really just fake news. All we did was we ensured that Iran would never have a nuclear weapon, but everything else, the dead soldier, the fact that we reclassified 4 of the killed in action in the Iranian conflict to another conflict involving Mars and Venus, in order to artificially suppress or depress the death toll of the war before the election. Pay no attention to that. We're starving our own sailors on ships by not providing enough food, and you're going to forget about all that and he's right in a way, because it is July, right? We're in the 100-day countdown to the election. The distraction level between now and then, just, you and I and everybody else in the Northern Hemisphere, it's like, can we have one more month of summer, please? And that's perfectly fine. People, stressful lives and jobs and all the relationships and otherwise. Fine. Then the kids are going back to school. And then the NFL team, the NFL is going from training camp this week into the regular season in the beginning of September, when they always do. And life goes on. Lots of other things. And Trump will be doing a lot. You think we have problems? Look over there. And doing a lot of distraction and projection, because that's what he does. He even, I wanted to give I want to give grace to him when he does something that is graceful, because I don't want to, the idea, people that run around screaming TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, are in fact people that are deeply under the red pill themselves. So of course they have like 3 or 4 lines that are programmed into their biosphere chip that Elon has put into their brain. So they're going to scream things like, he's got Trump derangement syndrome, or she's a DEI hire. And they have just, the radical, the Mamdaniism of, Mamdaniization of America. Everybody's going to be a socialist. Everybody's going to be a communist. When, of course, the clearest evidence of communistic tendencies is one Donald J. Trump and the way that he handled the Intel gun it head for equity position in company operation he did a few months ago. But we have to forgive ourselves and each other, our neighbors, as we get closer to the election. They're going to be trying 17 different ways of repackaging the SAVE Act. Right now, it's a complete 100% impractical. It's impractical to believe that the people that need to order and receive new ID in time for the elections, it's not practical. You're going to spend the money and get the passport. I mean, it might work out, but people have other shit to do. And we would always hope that the Supreme Court would step in and say, no, you can do this for the general election in 28. And that's even cutting it close, because what you would need really to make it work in a fair, equitable way is for there to be a national, I would say a passport for everyone. You could call it a voter ID, but if you're going to all that trouble, and we know that only 50% of the U.S. voting age population has a passport, that it would be better for all Americans to issue every American of a certain age a passport, and make it, for kids, they change more than older people like I do over a decade. But that everybody get the voting part of everybody that's going to be 18 and eligible to vote on voting day 2028 gets a passport paid for by the government, and then voter ID is a moot point, right? Every citizen, unless, there are certain, religious groups that think that taking a picture can steal your soul. That's part of MAGA, not all of MAGA. Excuse me, and they have very little soul to begin with, so the theft would only be petty and not grand larceny. But that it could be done if the government wanted to get it done. Our court just ruled this past week that Trump's efforts to weaponize the U.S. Postal Service against voters, and specifically mail-in votes. There was that Mr. Steiner, the Postmaster General, said that if in states that don't turn over their full voter rolls to the Trump administration, won't be receiving their mail-in ballots. And how they'll be handled on the other end of that process is yet to be seen. Very troubling. The court just a appeals court. What was it? First Circuit Court somewhere said that no, that ain't going to fly. Now this will probably make its way up to the Supreme Court, because that's what Trump wants, and what he wants is a late innings ruling by his Supreme Court that throws the election into a disarray. Now, if you think about demographics more generally, and you think of people let's look at one specific class of people within the overall U.S. demographic palette. Right? Let's talk about crackers who live in red states that Trump carried. Are these people? What do you think the percentage is, higher or lower than the national average, that low income crackers in Mississippi, Alabama, and Louisiana is the percentage of passport, the percentage of that population that has a valid passport, is it more or less than the 50% national average? I'd say less, you know, because they're not, they don't, the allure of foreign places with many foreign people, some of them brown and black, is probably less for them than it is for you and me. So, allure is one part of the equation. I would say no. I would say that in the end, the SAVE Act, if it were enforced uniformly, and there's a big if, I would say that white people that show up at ballot places and say, "No, I didn't bring it. I don't have an ID." Say, Billy, Joe, Jim, Bob, you don't think I'm not gonna play you like that, you know? I've known you. We've been related for generations, sir. Go right ahead, cast your ballot. And in certain other states, it might have a more a stricter scrutiny in voter ID examination, particularly when there are ICE agents with guns drawn pointed at your head. Maybe just me. Yeah. So as I will try to wind this down because it is Sunday after all. It is a beautiful Sunday, and I got pretty far afield from the tariff discussion. So finally, so there's going to be a kitty of funds that certain companies and perhaps individuals. The other little trick that Trump was trying to do in the courts and has not been successful is he said to his DOJ, listen, only those that file suit in federal court or in the trade court are entitled to a refund. So people, little mom and pops, you think about Amazon. The companies that are going to be due the biggest refund are retailers and other consumer service and goods groups, right? So the top of the heap are the Walmarts of the world. Marky Mark Zuckerberg. Sure, he makes money, but he doesn't sell stuff. He sells services. He sells some, premium blue check, whatever. But Apple, over $10 billion. Walmart, 20 billion. Some big numbers. Now, Walmart has said that they've received some of the money back. I was thinking that they were going to attack Costco, much less than Walmart was due. I thought because Trump has Costco derangement syndrome himself, because Costco has a robust DEI program and threatens to keep it there until the end of time. But in any case, there will be a number of companies, Apple, if there's any, Zuckerberg, any Amazon, Bezos. You think about the Amazon store, right? If you're a seller on Amazon, so each of these people, tens of thousands of them, pay tariffs, and they don't have wallets like Jeff Bezos. They're just verified members of Amazon, whatever they call their store, and they're entitled to refunds. And the court has shit upon, it's a legal term, the ability for that class of plaintiff, will they be allowed to get status, right? In order to, the practicality of retaining counsel for each and every individual seller on Amazon, right? So can you certify a class? I would say that Trump's tame Supreme Court will help him with that quite a bit, and we'll find out. But this the money goes back through border protection. It's supposed to go to Treasury and then supposed to be back into the general fund, the bucket. But I can imagine, I can't prove this, but this has happened. It happened a year ago when Trump was sending certain numbers, some money to be held by his friends in UAE. Right, these are the top funders of the RSF, the terrorist group in Sudan. They are funded by UAE. This is Trump's client. This is a client of his son's and also of Jared Kushner's. Yeah, we'll talk more about. We talked a little bit about Mr. Kushner yesterday on a different platform, but that story continues to delight, and Mr. Kushner now is one of the faces of the billionaire class that's standing up against Mayor Mamdani's efforts to get the billionaire pied-à-terre tax in New York City. And Kushner, who is, he's a Jewish man, so he and Mr. Ellison are entitled to be strong supporters of Israel, even if it is of the corrupt Netanyahu regime that regularly murders children in Gaza. He's entitled to do that under the law. But he also is the one that is he the first father to buy his son a free ticket to Harvard? No, he's not. Is there any law that says that you can't allow Bibi Netanyahu to stay at your home in Jersey? This is back when Jared, before Jared had married Ivanka. Bibi used to stay at his father, Charles, Chuck to his, I don't know if it's Chuck, Charles Kushner, who was once the second wealthiest man in New Jersey, as calculated by former, at that point, Attorney General or State's Attorney Chris Christie, who then went on to be the governor of Jersey. He prosecuted and jailed Kushner. Kushner was the second wealthiest man in Jersey at that point. He had some heavy-duty charges against him. He ended up just serving, 16 months or less, and then doing a work release kind of deal. He was eventually pardoned by Trump. But this is the same Charles Kushner. When what happened was his own sister was cooperating in the preparation of evidence against him. So Mr. Kushner, Chuck, hired a prostitute to sleep with his brother-in-law, and then he shared the pictures of that sexual congress with his sister on the date of his sister's son's graduation. So that's the kind of guy that Chuck Kushner is, right? He is currently the U.S. ambassador to France for Donald J. Trump. He's also a billionaire, and he has a second home in New York. And he's now putting his hand up, like so many, Ken Griffin was pissing all over this. You don't want to lose you don't want to lose me in New York. And yeah, we want you the fuck out. And this is kind of like pest control in a way, that Mamdani's pied-à-terre tax works like pest control, because this means that Griffin and others Um, yeah, the other guy I was going to say Andreessen, but I don't know that he has a home in New York. But there are many wealthy people have second homes in Manhattan that are valued at more than $5 million, and they should be taxed. And they should be taxed maybe even more than Mamdani is proposing, because just on the mere numbers, when it was initially introduced, the projections were it was going to bring in about a $500 million. And if that results in successfully growing a program that provides pre-K to 2-year-olds across the city of New York within the next couple of years, then do it and double down. And if it gets rid of in a pest control kind of way, and I don't mean that in an anti-Semitic manner, just a prick kind of way, like Griffin and Kushner and others, get them out. The demand for those kind of homes is not inelastic. It is there are plenty of rich pricks that need to be in New York, and so yeah. Does that mean that we're going to lose Citadel employees in favor of some other, rich prick? Yeah, probably, because Ken Griffin already was moving to Florida, and now he just beat his chest, as tiny and thin as it is, and said that Mamdani will regret this day. So we'll see. My money's on Mamdani because he's somebody that actually does something for the least among us, those that have the he gives people a voice that heretofore, as he likes to put out, since Fiorello LaGuardia hadn't had a voice. And also he frequently champions um, FDR, a man for the people, and Mamdani is certainly that. So yeah, so Trump will continue to stonewall on refund and be giving not so subtle hints that you can request it, you can litigate it, and you'll probably get your money back, but I'll remember you. I'll remember you did that. And conversely, those that publicly say, what's a couple billion between friends? Say, and they convince themselves and their shareholders that Trump's going to make it up to them. Well, we'll see. Thank you. I may have to, it's getting very bright out here, and I may need to pick up the camera and get somewhere with some shade in order to not delete the entire episode. So I think I'm going to do that. Wishing you all a delightful remainder of your Sunday, or whatever day it is where you are. And if you would be so kind, if it's not asking too much, you could subscribe, restack, share, like, or otherwise, so other people can find this content that you found interesting, somewhat entertaining, or downright reprehensible. At least you can share it. Maybe I have a untapped reservoir of potential viewers that are categorized in the reprehensible bucket. I need to reach them too. So thank you. And I'm going to just kind of slide back. I'm going to rotate the camera. I'm going to lift it up and give you a little shot of Sylvan Splendor, a beautiful late July day in northern Massachusetts, 80 degrees, but breezy. And I'm going to go and commune with a four-legged assassin and work out a deal with him on his walk schedule. So thank you again. I appreciate your time, and we'll catch you sometime tomorrow. Thank you very much.